Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I was already excited to be in Miami. I am so excited to be in this room with these specific people we have on the show today. It's going to be... David, I don't want to set expectations too high. But when I tell you that Steve... God, I sound like Dan when I say when I tell you. When I tell...
What I find interesting...
I can't.
What am I supposed to do with all of this?
Stephen A. Smith is polling in actual polls for Democratic candidate for president. And that's not what we're doing to lead the show. Just to give you a sense of it.
Is it not?
We're not. We're not going to do it.
You mean to tell me I'm leading in polls and you don't want to talk about it? This is despicable by you, Pablo.
That was decent. That's not... Lauren Michaels wouldn't call you back. Do better.
Okay,
Try again right now.
Here we go. David Sampson, who I know very, very well.
Oh, there it is.
Wants to say that my Stephen A. Smith isn't up to par for Lauren Michaels and SNL. And let me tell you something. SNL been on the air for 65 years.
Oh, come on. It's a good show.
Oh.
Ooh.
So
Wow.
We're
We're going to lose them
Hold
all,
on, Lauren
Pablo.
Michaels.
The emergence of executive producer Chris Cody is a subplot that I was not totally prepared for when I got here. But he's in full bloom. He's heat checking.
Chris Cody, who came in saying bowling maybe got to him a little bit last night.
Wow. Long night at bowling.
Where were you, Chris? I want to go around the room. Where were all of us when we found out? And let's get Pat Riley in the room, by the way. He's not here. Get him back.
I'm on it.
Thank you. Where were you when you found out that we're going to laugh at the Miami Heat?
I was at a bowling alley, and you could
With your
see...
dad?
Yeah, with my dad. My dad actually had to leave after game... 3 games is usually bowling. After game 2, it happened like midway through game 2. He got a call from his boss. He's like, guys, I got to go.
Wow.
You couldn't write from the alley?
I was like, you should just dictate it into your... So, yeah, I was there, and I just saw people looking at their phones. It was one of those things... Well, that was startling to see that hand enter the room.
I just saw a finger pointing at me.
There's really no reason for you to have been late, though.
No, I mean, me being late had nothing to do
I thought you were talking
with
to Pat.
bowling. Yeah, me being late was me waking up at 7:15 and my wife being like, "Are you going to work today?" And I was like, "Huh? Yeah." It was bad.
Nothing to do with bowling, though.
Nothing to do
You
with
can't
bowling.
leave Pat. For those of you watching on the Dan Le Batard Network, we're going to leave him right there? Right behind Pop? Was he pointing? Was he pointing at you?
He's reaching out to you so you can awkwardly dap him.
I'd snuggle him right now.
It's like that portrait of God touching the finger of the other guy in the
That's
portrait.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's Roy shouting out
Hey, how you
Renaissance
doing?
art. Hello.
Botticelli?
Yeah.
You a big
Whatever you
Botticelli
say.
person?
Whatever you say. Yeah.
Gesundheit.
Find a child. Yeah.
I would ask Jeremy where Jeremy was because Jeremy is, of course, the most plugged in the building that's across the street from this building reporter that we have. But Jeremy is not allowed to talk about the Miami Heat until he does something that we said we wanted yesterday.
Are you
Deliverables.
You have to be able to do your job.
What did I do wrong?
Thong song, make it.
You promised.
You
the
guys
thong
were
song.
serious?
So David
no heat
Sampson
talk from
calls
you.
his flip-flops not flip-flops, but
They're thongs. I'm wearing them today, actually. Comfortably.
Thongs on.
And this right now, Jeremy, would be a great time for me to gesture to you and you hit play. Instead, we don't have anything
I haven't done this.
to sell the bit.
What were you doing?
So what we
There were
need
a few other things going on.
Touching your nipples to Andrew Wiggins?
Did you?
You can't. Don't answer
No.
that.
No.
No, you're not allowed to.
Nope. No,
You can't.
No,
You're forbidden.
We are edging towards heat discourse, and Jeremy is going to just have to make.
So are
some
you
music.
telling me that literally the only way we get to talk about this trade is if I go
the
make
only
a
way
thong song?
that you can talk about this
I
trade.
can talk
We're
about
going to
it.
talk about
We're
it.
gonna talk about it.
We're going to talk about PJ Tucker.
What happens after the edging?
Well, is he? We're about to find out.
Oh,
I was at a great restaurant
Oh.
when the text came in.
What was the restaurant?
Cote, Miami.
Where is that?
Isn't that Cody, Miami?
Yeah.
Oh, is
Cote?
it pronounced Cody?
It's spelled the same.
It is spelled the same. It's a Korean barbecue steakhouse in Midtown.
Incredibly
Michelin,
fancy.
Michelin award winner.
You could get the Michelin A5 tasting. I didn't quite get that. However, then the phone started going off, and my first thought was, well, we're in Miami. Let's go do the show
Right now, live.
right now.
Yeah.
Hold the phone.
And
you can't taste anything, right?
Nope.
So
Why are you
there's
going
a
to
lot
such
of
an expensive
spice.
restaurant?
Wasted
There's a
time.
lot of
Good
spice. Izzy.
follow up.
A lot of spice.
So you
and I was with
so
people
you
who
feel
love that kind of
spice or
food.
you taste spice?
I feel it.
It's hot.
It's hot.
So like around your temples, like
No.
up in the jaw area?
Nasal. Nasal.
That
Okay.
combined with the
Sinuses.
texture of the
The
beef,
texture
right?
of beef is.
Yeah.
It's a great restaurant.
Let's clip that.
It's a cool.
I
Just,
want
use
Pablo
later, please.
ready to
In the
go.
club.
I want you ready to go. And the only word I get back as I'm trying to spring into action, Pablo, quote, I'm in a towel.
At a spa, I believe.
I was working.
I was decompressing
In a towel.
in a pre-scheduled spa setting.
Did you have cucumbers on your eyes?
I wish. What happened was I have a routine. You can imagine what the first part of the routine is. I don't even need to say what the routine is. But I go and I lie down and I forgot that my contacts were in. And when I awoken,
That's not English.
I cannot specifically give you the Pantone color of red that my eyes were, but it
Oh,
was
wow.
bad. I wish I had cucumbers on my eyes. Instead, I had shriveled up contact lenses.
And that's why you couldn't detowel, get dressed, and
I was not camera
come
ready.
do some
David.
work.
I was not camera ready.
And are you now?
Wait to see.
We had an opportunity, guys.
David wanted to come into the studio to talk about this trade. I said we should wait till everybody's ready to talk about the trade.
How are we not ready? It's not like this came out of. We've been talking about Jimmy Butler for how long?
Like since January 1st.
Okay, does that give you enough time to be ready? 35 days. Were you going to learn about his stats or try to guess what Pat Riley was going to do? We needed to be here, and I wasn't going to come alone because I told Cody I was
Okay.
scared.
Well, hold on. Chris was offended that you did not invite him to a restaurant that had
Named
his,
after him.
If I was going to a restaurant called Samson last night, I would have invited you.
Sounds like a terrible restaurant.
Very
will-
plain, very unseasoned food.
Samson's.
Little bags of candy.
it was an insane dress
appetizer.
code for no reason.
I wore a Robert Graham shirt.
Damn flashes.
The steaks, sloppy.
Sloppy steaks.
If the restaurant were pronounced Cody, I would have invited you. But it's not.
We actually have no idea how the restaurant's name is pronounced.
I believe it's called Cote.
I believe that Amin El Hassan's night, when it comes to who is struggling the most on the road to giving takes this morning, I believe Amin is going to win that contest.
Yeah, I was recording it till like 1 a.m. I hate this week.
Are you already empty of takes? Do you have to regenerate takes?
No, because it's not like I get in this argument with Dan a lot. Dan's like, I need new stuff. I'm like, this is the stuff. It's like no one's coming up and saying milk is boring. Give me something. No, milk sells. It does numbers. Everyone wants to talk about this Jimmy Butler trade. Everyone wants to talk about what the Lakers did last night.
Yes.
Everyone wants to talk about Kyle Kuzma, right?
Ugh. The Wizards.
Brandon Ingram. Like there's a bunch of deals. Just because I said it on Sirius XM radio last night doesn't mean, well, that's expired. Turn that one away. Give me a new one. Make someone else get traded, right now so that we can talk about that. That hasn't talked about anywhere. It's fresh. Because
Wait, hold on. Amin is arguing for the Nico Harrison Nike pitch approach. Yeah, look, I gave this to Kevin Durant. I'm going to change a couple names. It'll be all good for you.
there's no such thing as tailor-made trade talk. Like, that's the thing I don't understand.
Put that on the poll. Is there such a thing as tailor-made trade talk?
They don't do bespoke trade talk.
But your bread is buttered here. Dan, what he says, he did it to us. He said, I want 30 seconds of new takes on Luka. and all of a sudden in the container, well, that's our job. Your job is to come in here live and give us something we can't get anywhere else.
David,
This is already annoying.
to say you can't get it anywhere else assumes that the consumer is hanging on every syllable with bated breath.
They're not?
Anywhere that we talk in the world. If I'm at a club and the bouncer is there and I'm giving him 15 minutes of show, well, I just gave away 15 minutes of show. That could have been done here. No.
You were on till 1 a.m. talking about the Jimmy Butler
what
trade.
I'm not getting enough of from the people I need takes from is takes. So
Thank you.
So Ryan Cortez, I texted him. By
So
the
you went to
way.
Cortez?
I went to Cortez and I said, Cortez, you prepared to zoom in tomorrow because Cortez is the minister of heat propaganda. And Cortez says, quote, zoom in, question mark. I'm going to jump in front of a train.
That's a horrible text.
Brightline?
Do not we did not prep that pre-show.
I'm just saying.
If he really is saying
what-
that, there's places to get help.
Thank you,
You
David.
don't joke
Trigger
about
warning
that.
for
What-
the
what-
description.
That's terrible.
What I want a sense of is how it feels to be a Miami Heat fan right now. How does it feel?
I see Heat fans trying to spin this as a win. As just like, okay, we got Wiggins. No, you sound pathetic, Heat fans.
It's a little numbing.
This was like break glass in case of an emergency, last resort. Andrew Wiggins. No, I mean, especially with all the Durant rumors yesterday, it felt like a fun.
That's see, me and Izzy talked about this yesterday.
40?
That was another conversation. No, the reality is this deal feels less than for people like Chris and other fans because you know what could have happened. What could have happened was the ultimate prize. What could have happened was that guy right there,
Pat Riley.
coming back to life and saying to everybody, hey, let's do it again.
How many times has he gone after Kevin Durant?
Wow. Okay, so it's 2016.
Good question, Chris.
There was when he went to the Nets. There was when he went to the Suns.
Woof.
So this is the fourth time now. He'll get him
They're
one
not
day.
quitters.
What is Pat Riley saying this morning?
We're almost there.
Oh, no. What he's saying is I've got till 3 p.m. to get rid of Anderson. Because otherwise, the whole trade, I would
Kyle
not.
Anderson.
Kyle Anderson, thank you. The whole thing that people are not talking enough about, but I assume you were on till 1 a.m. You covered this.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the Heat couldn't move Anderson to Toronto is crushing to them because of luxury tax, buyout market, the trade exceptions. They've
So if
got to
you,
move
David,
money.
if you would have gotten what you wanted yesterday, told everybody, hey, you get out of your towel, Pablo, get over here, Amin, get over here, I don't care about SiriusXM, you would have started with Kyle Anderson talk.
I would have started with I would not make this trade without Toronto. Remember, the way it was announced
I wouldn't have stayed up for that.
was that Kyle, well, that's why I didn't call on you, was that because you need your beauty sleep. I get it. I'm with you. And you look great today. But Kyle Anderson.
I cannot believe we're doing Kyle Anderson talk.
Yeah,
He
that's
was.
right.
I
rumored-
like the idea that someone out there is like, I rely on the Dan Le Batard Show to inform me not only
Well,
of takes but
that's
of
the
news.
number one problem.
And we have led with Kyle Anderson.
Even his game is boring.
I'm just
Nowhere else.
learning that he's
Slow-mo.
involved in this right
You-
now.
Well, that's the difference between someone who's paying attention to the business side and not bowling.
Magaki.
The fact of the matter is that they've got till 3 p.m. to make a move, or I would not have made the Butler trade.
So what David is talking about right now, the Heat are $2.5 million over the apron. In order to get under that apron, they've got to shed salary. And the problem is, all the names that would accomplish that are like guys they would want to keep, or guys that can't move. So, like if you look around that salary level, you've got Jaime Jaquez Jr. Obviously, they're not going to move him. Jovic, obviously, they're not going to move him. Kel'el Ware, obviously, they're not going to move him. Haywood Highsmith, they like him a lot. They're not going to move him. And so Kyle Anderson is the new guy. Now, the irony is I think he could actually help this team. He's a good player. But at that point, the margin of improvement that he brings does not, I don't think, make up for the lack of getting tax disbursements, because in the NBA, and now this is really the show.
We've
everyone
said
wants.
tax disbursements before Steph Curry. I'm
Yeah.
doing a great job hosting this
Also,
morning.
Chris Cody just looked up Kyle Anderson so he could, quote, see what this guy looks like.
Can we look,
We win.
I led
Dan, we're doing great.
I led with how are all of us learning about the trade. I want to show everybody, in case you missed this, how Kevin Love, member of the Miami Heat, heard about the trade.
Got Kyle Anderson, Dennis Schroeder, and Andrew Wiggins.
Okay.
We robbed them. First round pick, protected.
Okay, I'm gonna look at it right now and bring it tomorrow.
No, they didn't give out the ear. No.
Wait, are you kidding?
Wait, are you kidding?
She's my favorite now.
I love that. So that guy who was breaking the news like the person whispering into George Bush's ear on 9/11,
That is the moment of his life.
sitting behind the bench as Kevin Love is just with bated
Not
breath,
playing.
wondering, not playing, what had just happened to his life and his team. That dude, what did he say? We killed them. We robbed them.
We robbed them.
yeah.
Robbed them.
Robbed.
We got Wiggins.
I think it's again, if the name Kevin Durant had never come up, you'd be like, all right, given everything that's happened since January 1, this is a pretty good deal. The problem is, you know that for a window of time, and I'm telling you right now, I didn't talk about it yesterday on the show because I'm not cleared to talk about it, but that conversation was real. Kevin Durant for Jimmy Butler straight up was a real conversation.
What does that mean you're not cleared to talk? Cleared by who? Air traffic control? Cleared by the source who you speak to?
Pretty much.
Who is controlling you, Amin?
Well,
That's very bizarre to me. that
I'm
you
not a
can't just-
newsbreaker, David, so I when people tell me stuff,
No, there's a good. I like this. I like the gradations of the terror alerts. No, that's a loaded metaphor for Amin. Just the
Gradation?
the gradations of I am cleared to say this. I have been told. I am hearing sources close to the situation.
I happen to know.
9 times out of 10, when I'm told stuff, it is not for public consumption. I only will reveal it when it has been reported somewhere else. And then I confirm, I heard the same
So
thing.
I'm the same way. We don't break news on nothing personal, but that doesn't mean I can't talk about a subject.
Well, I talk about it. I'm not going to say, hey, by the way, Kevin Durant for Jimmy Butler is imminent. I can't say that.
Fair.
Which is what was happening
Other
yesterday.
people were saying it, though. That's what we
Not-
just
not-
said,
not
why
while-
people
Not
are
when
upset.
we were on air. That happened after we got
That's
up
true.
here.
That's true. Look, it is true that you guys both know things that you don't say aloud. I often am the beneficiary of those things because I then get to launder it as my own sometimes. But what I want to point out about Cortez has just texted me.
Oh God.
Have you guys even mentioned PJ Tucker yet? Bro, we got PJ bleeping Tucker back.
Put the town on alert.
Cortez is basically that guy in the video we just played.
Oh, behind the bench?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly not Kevin Love.
But that guy,
I mean,
do you think that guy
same body
knew?
type.
Do you think that guy knew, Chris, that he was about to go again? One of the great clips of the NBA season.
It's also inaccurate, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Schroeder ended up getting rerouted to Utah, which was convenient because the Warriors were playing the Jazz last night. So
Well, this guy was on top of it, though. He was quick because the ESPN story originally had exactly what he said. And I remember texting Jeremy. I was like, wait a second, there's got to be another move here, right? That's too many people. And then he had mentioned PJ Tucker in his text, and I was like, what the hell is happening? This ESPN story is bare bones. It doesn't have all the good information. So I had to search the internet for the rest.
Are we saying this guy choked? He had a moment in the sun.
It was
didn't vet his
premature
source.
exuberance.
You should have said, hey, Kevin Love, you're in the trade.
yeah,
Sorry, buddy.
get up, get your things.
The power that he had to control news and information to freak out the entire Miami Heat.
You think they were freaked out? That Jimmy Butler was...
I think it's well, actually, a fair question. If you're on the Miami Heat right now, Jimmy Butler, the temperature of this thing in the locker room has mostly been communicated through Kevin Love's memes on Instagram, in which it's conveyed to me they're not freaked out, they're joking about it.
Yeah.
What does it actually feel like, do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously Kevin Love is launched into a second career of superstardom just by posting movie clips that are relevant to the situation. But the funny thing is, David, I heard you talking the other day about telling players that they got traded, and Dan being like, well, there's a broken trust. I think it was to talk about Cooper Kupp. And it reminded me of years and years ago, Alvin Gentry told me a story that they were going to trade. He was working for the Spurs, and they were going to trade Ken Norman. And Ken Norman was notoriously like a tough guy. And so, Alvin, you got to tell him. And so Alvin's all nervous and stuff, and he's practicing in front of the mirror. Alvin's still kind of a young guy in the game at this point. And he goes up to Ken and says, Ken, we want to thank you for everything you've done for the organization. Unfortunately, we've decided to go in a different path, and so you've been traded.
You got to lead with the you've been traded.
You've been traded to Milwaukee, right? And Ken looks at him and says, "Do they have Banks in Milwaukee?" And Alvin's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Then I'm fine, cool." And he just says, "That's it." And that's most players. Most players, yeah, like this is a part of it. Now, obviously, the Luka deal is an example of like no one saw that coming. But if you aren't Luka Doncic, if you are a regular rank and file NBA player or someone who was suspended several times since January 1st, everyone knows something is coming. So it's not a shock or like, oh my God, what are we going to do?
Who won this trade, though?
Who won?
Who won this trade? With Pat Riley, with cardboard Pat Riley as my witness. I
Well,
want a verdict.
Two things. One, it kind of looks like what I imagine other people feel when they turn on the show for the first time and see Pablo instead of Dan. And it's just like, this guy?
Puppet strings. We should get strings hanging from his fingers.
There's one clear winner to me. I can't believe we're even debating it. To me, the clear
Jimmy
winner
Butler.
is Jimmy Butler
Yeah.
because the Warriors gave him a $121 million extension.
111.
So he did not. Is 100? I thought it was
2 years
121. I'm gonna have to do a correction on nothing personal. Are you sure it's 121? Can you reveal your source?
Bobby Marks.
Okay, Bobby Marks says 111, not 121. Okay, all right. I gotta go retape something. But listen, player option gone. It's now guaranteed, 2 years, and age 36 and 37. So now it's only 55 and 56. I thought it was 60 and 60.
Yeah, 54 and 58.
But he's also in a place that is probably better suited for him to actually win something, even more so than Phoenix if he would have been there with Durant, because that would have been still a collection of random stars brought together, maybe by Coach Bud, but probably not, versus the Golden State Warriors. And I keep pointing to that 2022 title. Like, history is going to show that one of the biggest anomalies, one of the weirdest championships ever, and they did it with half the team that was that, best team ever, 2017, 2018 team. So the idea that Jimmy can go in there and win a championship seems kind of real.
By the way, do you guys know what the Warriors also accomplished beyond gaining Jimmy Butler and giving him that deal?
Does it involve an apron?
Or the second apron?
They got under the first apron.
God. At some point, we're going to explain aprons.
Sure. It's
But-
this thing that you wear when you're cooking.
When you're
so you
cooking,
don't
so you don't
There should be an
Stand.
NBA-related cooking show, right? And it becomes more restrictive the more aprons you wear, and
We
you just
have-
kind of go from there.
The more you
Our
eat.
merch store has failed in not offering aprons. NBA deadline.
I'll wear
aprons. I don't want to see that.
Just an apron and thongs.
An apron and thongs.
I regret.
By the way, that's a Wednesday.
I regret.
Don't ever look at me like that
regret
again.
so much that has happened already. I regret the question I asked. Who won the trade? Really, what I wanted to know was who lied to us.
Who lied? Well,
Who
was
lied
there a
to
lie
us?
told?
I want to know. There was Jimmy Butler. There was Bernie Lee, Jimmy Butler's agent. There was the Miami
Bernie.
Heat.
Bernie's always the answer. Who's lying? The agent. The agent is always lying.
So, what did he lie about? And was he lying successfully to the point where he got exactly what they wanted the whole
Yeah,
time?
look, the idea was that Jimmy wanted money. That's all this has been about. It's not about the offense changed around me. It's not about they didn't get me enough help. It's about Jimmy Butler has a track record of demanding he gets paid like what he thinks he's worth. And when he doesn't, he basically says, well, I'm going to go somewhere where they will pay me. And every step of the way, that's where it's happened.
So this is not a culture story.
No.
This is a money
This isn't a
story.
Shams story where Shams had the list of teams that the agent said don't be ridiculous.
Well, Shams-
That is a total lie. Am I misremembering the
Yeah.
story here where the Warriors were one of the 4 teams that Shams had and
So-
the agent for Jimmy Butler said this is absolute horse hockey?
So this is an example of something where I can reveal. Where Bernie told me that, and I'm not saying that this is the truth, I'm just telling you this is what Bernie told me. Bernie told me they never requested a deal until the Heat suspended Jimmy the first time, and they said, well, if you feel like that, then you might as well just move him. Basically, if this is how you feel about Jimmy Butler, that you enough to suspend him for conduct detrimental, sounds like you kind of are done with him and you just want to get rid of him. That was the first time the words trade him had ever been uttered from the Butler side, but the reports and rumors had preceded that by a couple of weeks. And so that's Bernie Lee's point, is
Well,
like, we
hold
never
on.
asked.
Okay, but this is an interesting dissection of what a lie is, because I imagine Pat Riley is saying, okay, you didn't say it, but you were pretty much making us feel like this was on the way.
Well, no, the idea that we want to go to Phoenix or Golden State or like a list of teams or all that. That's what Bernie was.
Oh, the specific
That's
geographic
what the conversation was. But this all started when the Heat went off for him an extension at
Right,
the beginning of the
right.
season.
But this is
So-
why Jimmy is both the winner and the loser here, because it was clear, based on all the reporting, that he wanted to get himself to Phoenix because he knew they would pay him. And maybe there was something else about Phoenix that he liked better.
Sure.
Maybe he thought the Warriors were past their ability
State
to win
tax.
anything at all. But they backed him into a corner approaching the deadline. Both the Warriors and Jimmy are kind of losers here because the Warriors didn't want to pay him. They ended up having to, and they were desperate for another star. Jimmy didn't want to go to the Golden State, but he's over there anyway. And so it's one of those deals where Jimmy had to back off and probably thinking, hey, they'll just leave me on the roster all year long because that's the threat that the Heat had.
Wait, why did the Warriors have to pay him? I missed that part of your.
Because in order for them to trade for him, he wouldn't play for them. He wouldn't sign an extension with them. Therefore, don't trade for me. That whole act.
Yeah.
That's what he did with the Warriors. Same thing he did with Memphis.
But let him just
supposedly.
play out the year and.
Okay, see how that works out.
But they gave up assets to get him. That's the whole point. You would like it's the same thing you just said. I wouldn't have done that deal without having a landing spot for Kyle Anderson. Oftentimes, teams when they've agreed to terms with the teams with the principles and numbers work, the next part is you give permission for that team to talk to the
Yeah,
agent.
baseball does that too, but the talks happen before that. You know that.
Of
And
course,
So
but-
Butler did that, but if you're the Warriors, you can also just call the bluff.
No, but David, you're not going to risk it. That's the point. You don't do that deal unless you know he's going to sign the extension. And so they talk to him and they figure it out, and that's why they do the deal.
Well,
you
part
don't risk
of,
it.
But I mean, to your point, part of like what I want to wonder about here is whether Jimmy Butler and Bernie Lee are good at this. Right, the idea of
they're
like
excellent.
We're so unpredictable and volatile that we might just get out of here as soon as you trade for me for all that stuff.
Are you kidding me? They're the Stockton and Malone of this. They're amazing. Like Bernie's doing this over here and Jimmy's doing that over there. I don't even know. By the way, they're so good at it. I don't even know if it's premeditated. I think they're both just doing their own chaos individually.
That's my question.
And it just fits perfectly.
Is this a strategy, or is this just exactly the right temperament you need to scare teams that are increasingly desperate for talent?
I say this all the time. In the NBA, they tell you be professional and da-da-da, and you don't like it, it's okay. You can put your request in, but you show up and you do your thing and be a good soldier. And I'd say it time and time again. If you do that, you're never going to get what you want. The only way you get what you want in the NBA is you make a big effing mess. And Jimmy Butler and Bernie Lee are masters of, we're done here? Okay, let's start effing up this place, flipping up tables and spilling drinks in people's faces. And, David, you could shake your head, but at every step, they've gotten to where they wanted to go, and they've
That's
gotten
our fault.
compensated.
There's no question.
Who is
but it's
the hour there?
owners? It's owners, presidents. It's you give in, and I can't stand it. It of course they're going to keep behaving that way. There's no
You
consequences
have a
to behavior.
we don't
you change
negotiate
it.
with terrorists position.
I learned from the best. Golda.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Harrison Ford in Air Force One.
Hi, Jeremy is back, and I don't know
Am
why.
I allowed to talk? Or
Are
do you have a
allowed
song?
to talk?
yeah, there's a song.
You're allowed to sing.
Chris?
These things right here, for letting all the ladies know what I'm all about. You know, the finer things in life. Check it out. Ooh, that man so sandalous, premium comfort, rocking it. Feet so bare, call him Paddington. At the meeting, fit right in. Am I a human or not? Not wondering what I got wrong. All because my thongs, baby. My thongs. Tell me that I mean nose, or maybe Pablo. My thongs.
The word toes was right there. Look at my
Put
toes.
your foot down.
Look at my toes.
No.
Put your goddamn foot down.
There was one word that made that entire song. Like sometimes one word makes a song, and sandalous.
Sandalous?
Is
I
amazing.
wonder who wrote that one.
It was Amin. Guys, I didn't know I was actually supposed to do this. I did that in 20 minutes, but thank you. Thanks for the
He
criticism.
looked so
Can I talk about
tired
the
when
Heat
he came
now?
back in here and like exhausted.
I should have just ghostwritten the song and gave it to him, but then we'd have to hear his takes.
Well, now we have to anyway.
He did call what I presumed was, a pretty intimidating bluff. But I guess
Yeah, you're welcome.
I guess.
Jeremy's been saying for weeks they're a Wiggins away. So,
Look, I have been saying as a joke, they could really use a wing that's a two-way player that, can help create for others occasionally, sort of like a Jimmy Butler. But Andrew Wiggins is really helpful to what they're doing right now. I actually, obviously, as I was making this, don't know what we were talking about for the last 25 minutes. I assume it was talking about how having Durant floated for the last 8 or so hours of these negotiations really deflated what should be looked at as a pretty solid deal considering the circumstances. You had a player completely force his way somewhere else. I'm happy that Jimmy ultimately got what he wanted in his money. I think the Heat are probably, in whatever petty parts of them, a little bit happy that it wasn't Phoenix, the team that he initially was trying to get himself to.
Okay, this is the question I have for you.
Oh, that's a fine.
Oh.
Venmo bucket.
Venmo bucket immediately.
Chris, do we have the Venmo fine
We
chart?
need the login.
Cortez. I can't get fined because Cortez is
Yes.
texting me more about PJ
That's
Tucker.
not, no, you're
There it
fine
is.
because your phone was on.
Phone interruption. That's $10, Pablo.
Fine.
Luckily, it's not a Tuesday.
I do have
Would've
Venmo.
been double.
I do
the
have
Venmo
on my
bucket
phone.
is presented by, you guessed it, Venmo.
Jeremy, what is the propaganda spin here for the Heat? You were beginning to say that
Why
there
am
is
I always positioned as having a propaganda
because
spin?
you
Why
were
can't I just cover basketball?
You were just saying that Jimmy Butler getting paid $100+ zillion by the Warriors was something that he could feel good about because it wasn't the Suns
I'm
giving
saying
him
whatever little petty parts of them want to feel good about waiting it out and trying to get the deal that they wanted as opposed to the one that Jimmy wanted in only for Jimmy. But the reality is it probably would have worked in some sort of machinations like this one to get him to Phoenix either way if Durant had just been willing to go to Golden State. So it would have been Wiggins and some sort of pick and what they got. David mentioned Kyle Anderson earlier and needing to reroute him. That's something maybe we'll see later today. Only to me, the importance of that is because if the Heat, I believe, get under the first apron, that they can go get someone on the buyout market. When the time comes, they could use another ball handler, a point guard that can help them initiate offense.
Slow-mo.
But what Wiggins does for them in what the present machinations of their starting lineup is in particular is huge. He's a gigantic upgrade offensively from what they have in Haywood Highsmith, but not a downgrade.
Is this a Heat culture bet? Where it's like,
He's
hey,
this generation's
bring
Luol Deng.
No, he's
bring
not.
Wiggins in into
don't
our
do-
system, and we can do some things.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky. That's completely different.
As far as the Heat is concerned, they get themselves a two-way replacement for a superstar that goes elsewhere.
But there's the difference is Luol was a guy that you knew showed up every night. And Andrew Wiggins, even at the championship peak, Andrew Wiggins, the consistency has been a concern. And so you look at his career going from Minnesota to Golden State, and yes, Tibbs and Jimmy can be rough, but this is going to be a cultural awakening for him, coming somewhere where the entire organization, not a couple of people, are very demanding.
Jimmy Butler is not a superstar today. His name, fantastic. Way to go. He had a great run with the Heat. He's not. They're talking about him and Steph Curry, one of the top 5 now duos in the NBA. I was trying to think like how quickly I could come up with those. I'm putting Wemby and Fox ahead of Curry and Butler today.
Not right now.
I think we also have a difficult time discussing Jimmy Butler generally because his regular season performance and playoff performance are so drastically different in terms of production and reputation.
The thing that infuriated the Heat, it turns out, this season is the thing that makes him special. Is the thing that makes him actually. I think Miles Brown put it on Twitter. He's like an aging old pit bull that can still like strangle you to death, but generally he's just not going to be as
mostly just
as
sits
active.
around licking himself.
But you're still afraid of him.
That does make you a top 5 duo.
Pitbulls are very friendly.
The way Pablo started that statement, it sounded like you said. It turns out the friends, the thing that we discovered were the friends we made along the way, or whatever. No, look, here's the deal. Jimmy Butler is every bit as potent as he's been the last couple of years.
Yep.
The biggest question is just like, are you healthy? That's the biggest question. And so if he's healthy, it is a remarkable upgrade for Golden State to get us a secondary scorer who is consistent, who can score in a different way than kind of Steph Curry's whirling chaos around the court, and defensively keeps them at an elite level. The question is, though, is that enough to overcome Oklahoma City? Probably not.
They're still 9th in the Western Conference.
Yeah,
the odds are that
but that's
they're
fluid.
a play-in team at best.
There's
But
also the
that's
idea that there's a difficulty to play. You can't just drop in and play in the Steve Kerr, Steph Curry offense. Like there's a period of time that you have to learn everything. Whether Jimmy's willing to do that, whether he wants to break the plays more often and just get his own, that might be the bigger problem there because he is not just a natural flowing offensive player. He's more of a rugged guy.
He's a ball stopper.
Ball stopper.
He's a
for
ball
sure.
stopper.
Well, and the irony for that is that was part of the issue in what they spoke about in terms of the on-court stuff for Jimmy down here. Is Eric Spoelstra worked with Steve Kerr at the Olympics over the summer. Bam Adebayo saw the way he could benefit from being part of an offense that looked a little more like that. They brought some of those principles here, free-flowing offense, shooting a bunch more threes. Andrew Wiggins and his skill set actually fit within that offensively, potentially better than how Jimmy Butler fits. You're not saying he's a better player. I'm not saying that in a playoff game when you need guys to go get their own bucket, that Jimmy still wouldn't have been the most potent version. But if you're building now around Tyler's skill set and Bam Adebayo's skill set, getting someone who can shoot more from distance as opposed to clogging up the paint like Jimmy was doing for Bam seems like a good match.
Thongs, thong, thong, thongs.
Are the only two places things get clogged are the paint and the toilet?
Throat?
Oh.
Evan McPherson? The GOAT? He's a kicker! I mean, Tom Brady's bed's still warm. Tom Brady just left.
You're the greatest of all time. You're the greatest of all time. He's beautiful in every way. It's out of control.
He throws the ball most accurately and won 7 rings.
So good at backing. He's meant to our decade teams.
A 6-round draft pick with a chip on his shoulder and a dimple on his chin.
You're the greatest of all time. You're the greatest of all.
Dude. Okay. Boy, you looking good, boy.
It's your mind always wondering. It's like me when I go to sleep. Right when I lay down, I start thinking about the stuff I haven't done.
For the first month that I was taking Adderall, fans were emailing in saying, "Wait, what is happening? Is Stugotz smarter than Lebatard?"
Yeah, wow.
To believe it or not, guys, I have a fishing team.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm part owner of a fishing team. So
Wow.
yeah, but I do fish.
I mean,
though.
how about we get a rod in the water, Raheem? Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, it's the same guy that was supposed to be going out there golfing with me, right?
Exactly. One question was if you could change closets for the day, who would it be with? I said, the Pope. And I said, I love his look. I love to be able to anoint.
The Pope's look.
You should have dressed like the Pope today. That would have been great. Oh, my God.
That's what fit better.
Yeah. Well, no, the Pope has a big
you're right.
hat.
I forgot about that.
No, my tattoo. I got to show you my tattoo. It's right here.
Oh, wow. So that's the 2025. Even though the game hasn't been played yet, you have so much confidence that you.
And then also, I got
love
three
you,
of them.
man.
I'm reading between the lines here, Stugotz.
Yeah.
And Ed didn't say this. He'd never say
Right.
this, but he kind of said a little bit easy for Christian. He had all these genetics. I mean, all he had to do was fulfill his destiny. You know what I mean?
Right.
And unlike Ed.
Yes.
Ed had to come
Ed had
in
to
here.
work.
So Larry Zonka got stuck at sea one time, like in the Bering Straits or something. They had to come and rescue him with a helicopter.
He did, for real.
I think
Really?
Rob
Yeah.
Conrad was out like on a boat by himself, fell off the boat.
No, the
And
boat
then-
was drowning, and he had to swim to shore.
Mike Tyson scared me.
When Mike Tyson tells you to do something, you do
I
it.
got up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe buddy system, do something. Don't go out by yourself on the boat, and maybe be careful when you're out fishing because the franchise does have a history of problems on boats.
Well, guess what?
What?
I know two guys that's going to join me.
Wow.
Yes,
So I can't-
co-owners.
I can't-
Listen, I'm going to leave Lebatard. You and I are going to start a show.
Yeah, no,
okay?
we are. Look. The thing about lying, I do it to protect them, not me.
Yeah, and sometimes I lie just because I just want to be a part of the conversation.
How long you been lying?
Oh, my whole life.
Yeah, I've been lying for 31 years.
So-
Guess how old I am? 31.
How much longer are you thinking you want to play?
I mean, I got like, and whenever these wheels fall off.
Back to you guys.
This has been
And
unbelievable.
they're behind us saying, wrap it up. So that's what we're going to do. 'Cause we could have went all day.
He is,
Yeah.
Listen, this is my new co-host, Lebatard.
Yeah.
Bye.
Back to you, Dan.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Who's Ed?
I don't know, but
He was pitching something, I bet.
There was
at Radio Row.
I came in with the stated goal of having more fun than everybody in New Orleans. We're a split squad this week, and I don't know if we can have more fun than Stugotz was having. Fake laughing at Sean Stellato, agent for Tommy DeVito.
Oh, I thought this fake laugh with Funny Marco, where they're having a fake laugh off. I was like, that's amazing.
That guy was Christian McCaffrey's dad, for the record.
Was
That's easy, Ed McCaffrey?
Ed McCaffrey.
Ed McCaffrey.
In the Big Easy. Oh, how about that?
NFL Blitz legend.
Was that guy DeVito? Was he wearing a championship ring?
Yeah, I think he's
It
wearing
looked-
his Italian American Sports Hall of Fame ring.
That is a great. You found out.
I-
You just did
we-
Pablo some justice.
We interviewed him.
He was wearing the same ring?
No, it was like right before he was about to be enshrined in the Italian.
Of course, you
Sports Hall of
interviewed
Fame.
him.
Yeah, man. This show we did it here.
I know, of course. Look, Sean Cortez is he here yet?
No.
Speaking of attention-seeking gas bags, whose throats I want to hear
What?
noises from. Cortez.
Go on.
Yeah, that was not a great intro. There you are.
What the hell was that intro? You're a professional podcaster and journalist. I'm embarrassed by that last 20 seconds. I don't know what you're doing.
Where's your PJ Tucker jersey?
Oh my God. So I just want to.
Where are
First
you?
of all, don't worry about where I am. I'm in Japan.
Nice staircase.
Beautiful background. David Sampson was right. The text I sent you was alarming. It was not meant for air. I sent it to you at a time where I did not know we had PJ Tucker. That's what happened. And then I found out we got PJ Tucker and everything's okay. Like today's a good day. I don't like how you guys are talking about this trade. Not only did we get PJ Tucker, we got a lockdown defender. Do you want me to read you some stats?
It's PJ Tucker. You just told us.
Well, no, not just PJ Tucker. I'm going to read you some stats. These are players' shooting numbers when guarded by Andrew Wiggins. Luka Doncic, 5 for 16. Anthony Edwards, 7 for 21. SGA, 5 for 12. Donovan Mitchell, 5 for 12. Cade Cunningham, Tony's favorite, 0 for 6. LeBron James, 3 for 9.
Not
pretty
bad.
good.
Boy, those are lockdown.
This
It's
is
a big sample size.
Well, those are all individual matchups this year, is
I
what Cortez
understand.
is reading.
And
Well, no, I mean the sample sizes are obviously small. It's more the idea of going up against the other team's best offensive player, having someone in that starting lineup that's like, you know what, I don't want to team myself with Cortez. He's doing stuff.
What I can't get over is
I'm
that
not
when
doing
when
anything.
Cortez is what you're doing is moving around, revealing that you're not in Japan.
What?
It's a Japanese. What are you talking
No,
about?
don't
It's a
move. Just stay
garden.
perfectly still.
Can you look at his glasses? Does that look like the glasses of a man who isn't in Japan?
I do love those
Are an
glasses.
incredibly effective upgrade. A
How is
rebrand.
anyone going to score at the end of a game when it's Hero, Wiggins, Jovic, Bam, and Khalil Ware? How are you going to score a point?
if they have a lead, they won't need to.
It's a good point. We're going to have to score on our own. But defensively, it's in the making. It's
Started
in the
with
making.
Hero, though.
I'm sorry, Cortez. I spent most of this week reading your posts, and they were all about how, Pat Riley doesn't have it, Jimmy Butler You were on his side. What? This is, come on, man.
It's been a wild swing of emotions. I have, in the past 24 hours, tweeted about Pat Riley needing a new job. I have blocked Jimmy Butler on Instagram. And I do think Pat Riley's at fault here. I think he should have either paid Jimmy or traded him a year ago. Bringing him into this year with no new contract, no new teammates that are any good, not a good idea. But now that we're here, I mean, Andrew Wiggins, go ahead, Amin.
Cortez, I want to ask, because I have to know what your emotional level was like for those few hours where it was.
Oh, it's Durant?
Durant for Jimmy Butler straight up.
Where it got so heightened was I was texting people, would you trade Hero for Durant? Would you trade Bam for Durant? That's how bad I wanted Kevin Durant. I was willing to trade Bam Adebayo for him. So yeah, Pablo was asking, where were you when you heard the news? To me, that was an interesting question. I was watching The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion part 3, and I got the news about
I
Jimmy.
cannot believe you produced my show.
And it was I had to turn off the show because what I was trying to do is read text while watching the great reunion. I couldn't do it, so I had to turn it off. But that's what I was doing.
All I'm seeing is Ryan Cortez tweets from 2022 where he asks at KD Trey 5, have you ever had a guava pastelito?
That's not how you pronounce that. Guava pastelito.
Ryan Cortez, Minister of Information.
This is ridiculous.
Amin said something interesting to me, too, where he was saying Jimmy and Bernie are masters at making a mess of this. Great point. I think in retrospect, if Dame Lillard had done this playbook in Milwaukee, not only did the Heat get him, but then domino effect, Jimmy no longer wants to leave, and then you've got Dame and Jimmy. At the time this was happening with Dame, I was saying, you need to make a mess. Dan was saying the same thing. It has to be Miami or nothing, and you make a mess of it.
It's exactly right. Damian Lillard is the example of professional, do it the right way, good soldier. And what happens? He gets sent not where he wanted to be and has been generally miserable pretty much over the.
Who wouldn't want to be in Milwaukee? I love Milwaukee. Do not impugn Milwaukee.
I love Milwaukee too, but that's not where he wanted to be.
So, Cortez, can you speak for Heat fans then? And how do we look back on this Jimmy Butler era? Do we feel bad for Jimmy Butler on the way out because it doesn't seem like he'll be embraced as much? Or is this kind of the bed that he made?
No, I mean, look, at this moment, he's a traitor, and I don't want to retire his number. But
there you go.
The zoomed out view is obviously it's an enormous success. Zach Lowe wrote 2 months before the Jimmy Butler trade that the Heat had the bleakest future of any team in the NBA, and he wasn't wrong. I mean, it was insane that they got Jimmy and got to finals. I mean, when they got Jimmy, as Dan has pointed out, that was supposed to be move number 1, and then you get 2 or 3 guys. So the idea that just Jimmy, it was an enormous success. And I hope one day they do retire his number, but for now he's dead to me.
I don't like sober Cortez.
Cortez put on these circular glasses, and he woke up trying to be level-headed. And I just am not. Look, the one thing I am not today is fooled by Ryan Cortez.
I'm not fooling anyone. I mean, look, I would have preferred to have Kevin Durant. I think if we get Kevin Durant, you get me with sunglasses today, you get a different version. It's hard to put on the sunglasses when it's Andrew Wiggins. But lockdown defender, and what I'm really excited about is PJ Tucker. I can't lie. I like PJ Tucker more than LeBron James when it comes to what they meant to the Heat. That's a legitimate take that I have.
That's not a take. That's idiocy. There's 2 rings from LeBron. 2. How many rings from PJ Tucker?
Well, if you count the one that I count, which is they were up in the first 9 minutes of game 1 against the Lakers in that finals, and then bam, and Goran got hurt, I count that as a ring. So technically they have 1 to answer your question.
I love you.
Still 2 to 1.
That's the Cortez I like. I don't like the Cortez who's giving me stats and stuff like that. I like the
very
Cortez.
monotone.
That's Cortez.
Oh, he seems medicated.
But he's always medicated.
Well, he's ooze tanking.
Ooze tanking, bro. You know what it is.
No, I don't.
Second round pick.
Row on you.
Can we get him out of here? I don't want this anymore.
I can't believe
PJ Tucker, before I leave, just mention PJ Tucker more. He's one of the all-time Heat culture players. It's Alonzo.
For the love
Mourning,
of God.
Udonis
Pot him down.
Nice glasses, Cortez.
Yeah.
3 best Heat players.
Pot him down. We don't need to hear this anymore.
We're crushing Dan right now.
When he gets that floater and he just drops it.
I can't.
Look, nobody. Can we get someone in Miami who will just admit to feeling the deep fear of irrelevance? The deep fear
let me just tell you right
that
now.
we are not going to care about talking about this.
Hold on.
Even a fraction as much anymore.
Pablo, hold on. I got to explain this for everybody, not just the listening audience, but also the YouTube audience, because the cameras don't capture everything at the right time. You started your statement. Can we just get someone in Miami and Jeremy stood up like, this is my chance. And then you said irrelevancy, and he just had this look like a dog that you fake threw a ball for, and it turns and it's like, wait, there's no ball. What happened? Just confused. Just utterly confused.
Irrelevance?
We're going to be talking about, you guys got to manufacture gin up PJ Tucker and Andrew Wiggins takes.
It's not.
That's what we're doing.
No one cares. We've been doing it too long. We haven't spoken about Pete Alonso. We haven't spoken about the Lakers.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to hear about Pete Alonso.
I
Pete
gave
Alonso?
the best Pete Alonso stat that's
hell
ever
outta here.
happened,
Why is
and
he
they
here?
kicked me out of the show. No one cares.
The Lakers have pulled off by the way, okay, I have another question for everybody. Raise your hand if you knew who Mark Williams was before he was traded to the Lakers.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Amin, Izzy, and Jeremy have to raise their hand, whether they have or not, just because that is what they trade in. It's their job.
He was a first-round pick for
He's
the
really
for
good.
the Hornets.
Oh,
he's not really good.
Turns
because
out
he's always
You have
injured.
not seen a Charlotte Hornets game since.
He's always
Finish that sentence.
injured.
Larry
You don't
Johnson.
think the Lakers overpaid for Williams?
I'm sorry?
Did the Lakers overpay?
No. In a win-now situation for the Lakers needing a center, no.
The reporting was that Luka really stressed to Pelinka, I need a lob threat.
Which is kind of what Anthony Davis was saying. Hey, can we get someone to play center so I don't have to?
But, and it's true. If you look at everything that happened for them last year, it happened after they acquired Gafford, pretty much to go alongside Lively. So Mark Williams fits that bill. He's an incredible rebounder. He's a body in the paint, and he's young. A lot of other names that they were talking about were guys that were kind of over the hill. And if your thing is this isn't LeBron's team anymore, this is Luka Doncic's team, then yes, you go out and you get young. You don't get Jonas Valanciunas. You don't get Nikola Vucevic. Now, the problem is what they gave up, is what David is talking about, because they gave up Dalton Connect, who a lot of people like. He's a pretty good shooter. They gave up a 2030 first-round pick that's unprotected, and then a pick swap as well. Now, when you talk about those things, they're far enough in the future where, on the one hand, you can say, Luka's in his prime. Those picks will never be anything
He'll still be in
higher
his
than
prime at
18.
29.
Yeah.
Won't he?
What?
The 2031 pick.
Yes.
Luka's 25.
Yes.
It's 2025 already.
Yes.
He'll be 31. Is that past his prime? He's
No,
done?
it'll be deep in his
The
prime.
end of his prime.
I don't think it'll be end of his prime. I think he doesn't have
Middle to end?
It does depend on the question of how in shape is he going to be now and going forward.
That, but also if he's healthy, he has a type of game that is not really reliant
I
on
agree.
explosion
Yes.
and athleticism. So his game will age better than the way Russell Westbrook's game aged, by way of example. But the problem is when you have an unprotected pick that far into the future, it's a massive futures gamble. We're basically betting. The Hornets are betting, I bet you're going to F this up by the end of this, by the time this pick
Yes.
is available. And the Lakers are saying, no, we won't, because we got Luka Doncic. The other part of this is, as I look at that roster, and Izzy, back me up on this, Luka, not a great three-point shooter. He's a volume shooter, but he's not a great shooter. LeBron, good three-point shooter, but mostly off the dribble when he's got the ball in his hands. Austin Reeves, not a great three-point shooter. Obviously, Mark Williams, not a three-point shooter at all. So you're looking at this roster, it's like, well, beyond Rui Hachimura and Dorian Finney-Smith, who neither of whom are really volume shooters, where's the spacing for this team?
They could use Steve Kerr.
Yeah, they could use a 58-year-old Steve Kerr. Get him
This is
out
me
there.
backing you up. That's all true, I mean.
Thanks.
Mark Williams, 43 games in 22-23. 43 doesn't sound like 81, but maybe there was something different. 23-24, 19 games.
It's box score stew over here. Look, if you've watched the games, you recognize this guy as a talent. He is exactly what Luka needs. There are plenty of people who I believe have been wasting their careers in Charlotte, and he is early one of them. I'm glad he's gone somewhere else. But unless you think Dalton Connect is going to be, I don't know, even J.J. Redick or some sort of, laser of a 2-3 combo guard or small forward, I don't think you overpaid for that. The Lakers are one of those teams where picks don't matter. It's just like the Miami Heat. Picks don't matter. I'm going to be good all the time.
But that's been the thing, right? That's what's come back in this build. That's actually been what's come back to bite the Heat a couple of times is, oh no, we gave up these picks to make moves earlier on, and now what do we do come this moment? At the same time, you need to maximize. Look, you have LeBron James and Luka Doncic on your team right now. This is the moment.
For the Lakers.
So one of the most honest things that people have kind of made fun of and ridiculed, but I thought it was an amazingly poignant point by Nico Harrison, was when he said, the future for us is 3 to 4 years. 10 years from now, we probably won't be here. And everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said the quiet part out loud. But the reality is, that is how the majority of teams do business. Like when Sam Hinkie, your beloved Sam Hinkie, was doing what he was doing in Philadelphia, our good friend Henry Abbott, who is the head editor at for ESPN.com for NBA coverage, was singing the praises of Sam Hinkie and what he was doing. And I told him, I said, Henry, it's all great. The math checks out. Too bad Sam won't be around to enjoy the spoils. And Henry told me, no, this ownership group is different. They're from Wall Street. They understand.
That was the mistake.
And my thing is, Henry, no, this thing is the same everywhere. Everyone thinks they've got the great math until their kid comes home from school crying because everyone made fun of them.
You said Sam Hinkie and Pablo has never been more lit.
But the thing Amin just referenced, perhaps hypothetically, was actually a thing that I am told was happening in Philadelphia.
Yes.
That Josh Harris, his kids were being made fun of because the Sixers were that bad.
Pablo, I called it before any of it happened.
No.
I told Henry, I said, look, this is how this shit works. It's not on paper. These are real people living real lives. You can't tell everybody, we're just going to lose, and then we'll figure it out.
But the real people living real lives thing, not on paper, typically that was an argument made on behalf of the players on the team, which was missing, I think, a through line from the 2 episodes we've done of this show, the 2 days we've done, which is follow the money. The owners are the ones who have these pressure points, whose incentives should be different from the people they employ to run their front office, right? They're going to be around in 10 years. But the people they pay to run the team statistically are not. And so the question is always, what's your time horizon? How long is this going to take? Will the people who you pay to be the stewards of your organization act as if they're the stewards of a future or a present? And the conversation right now about, like, in the NBA, has it ever been cheaper? Has a first-round pick ever felt cheaper? Right? Like, just like the market value right now.
Nico Harrison will say, no, it's actually pretty expensive. I only got one.
But it's a funny thing, right? Mikal Bridges. Right? Five first-rounders. Rudy Gobert. Go down the list. That is an example of people saying, take our future. The present is what matters to us.
But the Nets have been doing that back in the Pierce Garnett days. I think the Nets did the same thing.
Yeah,
and they mortgaged their future. It didn't work. Then they had to start again, and it hasn't. It's forever.
But the question of who has the ability to start again, right? Which teams, which markets allow that? That is a key part of that privilege.
There's two pieces of math here. Piece of math one is, do we have a realistic chance of the ultimate success? Not to be good, but to win it all, right? Because that informs why, for instance, the Warriors will give up a first-round pick for Jimmy Butler, because they think his addition can give them a realistic chance to get one more of these, or to actually prove to Steph Curry we're doing everything we can.
They're betting on themselves.
Right, that's one. The other math is the people making the decisions. Do I feel job certainty? The reason why Sam Presti can do what he did was because Sam Presti knew, I'm not going to lose my job over this.
Well, and that's where, again, when I talk about markets, right? Oklahoma City versus Philadelphia.
Yep.
Right? Like, we're talking about, when I say who has the competitive advantage, David, I'm in a market in which the pressure point is not going to feel as painful.
Did you forget about Chicago? The Cubs did it with Theo. They lost 100 several years in a row. Baltimore's a big market. They lost, and guess what? They were there, won a World Series. It can be done. You just have to do it right. And it's not as market-related. Owners don't necessarily think the way you're saying. They don't have a GM in place saying, oh, take me through the tank and I'll fire you right when the tank's done and I'll have someone else.
But I think the argument from Philadelphia, to Amin's point and to my experience, has been owners tend to overestimate their rationality. and they underestimate how much it sucks to be made fun of.
Their stomach for this. They don't have the stomach for it, and nor should they. You just paid billions of dollars to be the cool kid. You remember when you talk about Mark Cuban? There's no way you could sell the team and still run the team. It's all built on that. The reason I'm spending billions of dollars on this is not because I'm going to flip it 20 years from now and make X fold. It's because I want to be the cool kid. I want when people come to my parties. How do you have Usher here? Oh, well, he's a good friend. You don't get to be friends with the cool people without this cool entryway, which is I own the team. And so if that's your starting point, you own this property because you want to look cool.
Yeah, the opposite of feeling embarrassed.
No owners feel embarrassed, though.
The real winner here is Chris Cody, who now knows what Kyle Anderson and Mark Williams look like.
That's two. That's good work. And you were late today.
Why you got to bring that back?
Crushing it. Still bothering me.
You were saying, David, no owner.
When owners walk into a room, they're cool. People take photos. They want autographs. They're not like, oh, my God, you lost 100 games.
David, why do they want to?
They want to be near ownership.
No. Why do owners get autographs and give autographs and take pictures?
Because people want to be near power.
Near power of what?
Of any. Of
these guys are all
anything.
Hold on, these guys are billionaires, right? So before they own a team, they should have walked in the rooms and gotten photos,
go back
right?
to Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer is the number one example of
But
this.
David, there are some exceptions to, I think, your point, which is, in general, these guys are living great lives. The team tends to outlast all of the temporary news cycles. They get to be a steward of the thing that is wired into people's childhoods. But then, of course, I think of, I don't know, what's it like to be John Fisher? What's it like to be, at the time, Dan Snyder? What was it like to be Josh Harris when the Sixers were tanking? What's it like to be these deeply unpopular people who get booed? Jim Dolan getting booed in the Garden.
Jim Dolan does a lot of things. Listen, our owner used to get booed, and there were negative things. There were negative things from this very show. Believe me, it did not in any way get into my life.
Why are we talking about the emotions of rich people?
Seriously, where did this go wrong?
The mistake is.
Why do we care?
The mistake
Pablo
here,
brought this up. He's trying to lead the show.
The point is a good one that Amin and I have been raising. The mistake has been the mistake. Look, the question is, why are decisions made and how? It's because people tend to have a market inefficiency when it comes to, you can feel embarrassment. Our mistake was asking David Sampson to be a focus group on what it's like to feel embarrassment.
No, I mean, it's.
Is that like a stew laugh?
No.
What was that?
That was a laugh. I'm laughing at you.
You are the person who feels the less. Oh my
That's
God.
a good stew laugh.
That's a pretty good stew laugh.
Yeah, or funny Marco.
Nobody feels less embarrassment than David Sampson, is my point.
I do not feel embarrassed.
You don't feel
Why would I?
embarrassed. You're not a billionaire, though. I'm not talking.
No, I'm not.
I'm talking about the guys that own the teams, and
they have thin skin. Most of them. I
Yes.
will grant you that. But what we're really supposed to be talking about is the Lakers. And did the Lakers make this move because they're in win now? That's why they were willing to overpay in order to get. With
Again, it's
LeBron?
overpaying by your opinion. I don't think too many people are assuming that.
and again,
I'm the only one saying it's an overpay right now.
David,
Anybody who's seen Mark Williams play probably not agreeing with you.
David, the overpay. If I'm going to go down your side, I say yes, it's an overpay. But the overpay isn't Dalton Connect. It's the first round pick because it is unprotected and it is far enough in the future where we don't know what that team is going to look like.
That should have gone to Dallas.
Right? Sure. The point I'm making is that Rob Pelinka doesn't give a fuck about 2030. He's like, who cares? Am I going to be around for that? Probably not. Maybe. If I am, cool. I'll worry about it then. But for him, the future is in the next 3 or 4 years. That's real. What Nico Harrison said applies to every general manager not named Andy Ellisberg, R.C. Buford, and Sam Presti.
Yesterday he said, I can't wave a wand and manufacture a big man. Did anyone else see the quote by Rob Pelinka?
Mm-hmm.
We need a big man, but I can't wave a wand to make it happen. Well, of course you can wave a wand. All you have to do is overpay. And they did it to Charlotte, and all of a sudden they got a big man.
Overpaying, though, is I'm with Izzy. Like, I do not think this is an overpay. I think this is an example of one team needing one thing, another team needing a different thing.
What? Why are you holding your phone?
Sorry to interrupt, but this is the perfect time for this. I just got the email confirming the polishing of the World Series trophy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because we're all after that. And the problem
sorry.
with overpaying,
you sent your trophy out to be polished.
You have to.
That's got to be a Venmo.
It has to be a Venmo. Like, this is the worst phone interruption of all time. We were talking about basketball, and now we're talking about polishing your trophy?
No, we're actually talking about winning it all, which I thought was exactly the through line.
What
of
does it
the
cost
Lakers
to
are
get a
doing
World
to win
Series
now.
trophy polished?
I'm sorry. Did I misunderstand what the conversation was?
All
Izzy?
the time. You misunderstand it all the time.
Well, to me, we're talking about the Lakers trying to win it all.
Did you
talked about Steph
Google
Curry
World
having
Series
one more
trophy
shot?
polishing company? How did you figure
it's
out?
from Tiffany. You bring it back to Tiffany.
Tiff.
So is the NBA trophy.
Sounds like we're having a tiff.
It comes in.
No,
that,
I just.
It comes in that,
Of course, I knew what we were talking about because I'm paying attention and I'm on time.
My only surprise is that
Time.
David Sampson did not demand to be in the room so he could watch his trophy getting polished.
Well.
That's a horrifying.
In a towel?
Dear God.
Definitely not in a
wearing
towel.
wearing only an apron.
No, this is a true story. I brought the trophy to Tiffany wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and I was stopped by Tiffany has a ton of security in the New York store on 57th Street, and I looked schleppy. I had a toque on, and I had a hoodie and sweatpants.
Toque and cool.
And I was carrying a World Series trophy, and the assumption was that I had pilfered it.
The World Series trophy?
And I was bringing it to fence it.
You're just walking down the street in New York with the World Series trophy?
I would had to bring it.
Unboxed, no cover,
I
no
can't be-
sheet.
It doesn't come in a
Yes, it
box.
does. It comes in.
It was in a Tiffany bag, but it falls down, so the flags are poking out like a little groundhog. on
David,
February
there's a
2nd.
carrying case. That's where they wheel it in and wheel it out.
So no.
Wait, I just want to process this.
Okay.
I'm surprised David could carry the World Series trophy.
Sometimes when I go to a friend's apartment building and I'm carrying like food that I brought over, I am asked what restaurant I'm delivering from.
Yes.
David Sampson finally got to feel that because he was holding the literal World Series trophy in the Tiffany lobby.
Yes, and I was stopped multiple times, and the only way to prove it, because there's no receipt for it.
Yeah.
I had to have them Google, and that was hugely mortifying for me.
Dude, I just love the
And
idea.
then they let me through.
There's a
It
penalty
was
for this,
crazy.
right? There's a penalty for this. Like, what?
Major asshole.
Yeah, major asshole.
That's
Can we
the
do that one?
Izzy.
Yes,
My
it's on your
God.
stream deck.
You
Oh,
just
hold
got
on.
the,
Yeah,
you got
this
the little
is-
You're in
device
charge.
there.
All you have to
This
do
is
is
good
hit the
hosting.
button.
You don't have
no,
to
that's
ask
white
permission.
woman, white
Yeah.
guy.
All we
White
care
guys,
about-
you know, that
It's
can
not
do
a
that.
white guy thing. Wait, why is it a white guy thing?
Sports ownership
I'm
mostly.
seeing it. Oh wait, other
Money.
menu. Oh
Not
my
getting
God,
shot
there's
or
another
tackled at
menu.
Tiffany's also as well.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
We've got a penalty, 5 minutes. Major asshole.
Major asshole, yes.
You're letting this go to your head.
There it is. Proof that David and the trophy are not the same height.
It looks like David climbed out of the trophy.
That
that
was
shirt, a
the
medium?
picture that was used that enabled me to get it polished.
Why are you still here?
Yeah. You need to...
Izzy, man.
Hey, he's got a good point.
5 minutes. 5.
I love the idea, by the way. This man stole the World Series trophy, and where is the first place he went with it? Tiffany's. I got to get it polished before I can fence it.
This guy who clearly doesn't actually own this thing does want to make sure it's very well taken care of.
To reshape a little bit of what David was saying and to maybe give him a defense is Charlotte can feel good about the move they made. I don't think that it should be the Lakers feeling like they overpaid.
And why should Charlotte feel good?
Charlotte can feel good about getting a first-round pick, a pick swap, and a young player in Dalton Knecht for moving on from a guy who has been injured and maybe won't be working with the core that they're building right now. They kick the can down the line.
It's a timeline thing.
It's a timeline thing.
This is what I'm saying.
That's the thing both of you were trying
So
to
my,
say.
my co-host yesterday on the radio was like, how could Charlotte do this? Am I the only one who likes Mark Williams? Like, no, I like Mark Williams too. It's just, is Mark Williams a franchise player? Well, no. It's moving him going to materially impact the Hornets' future? Well, no. Well, that's why you give him. It's nice to have, but you go get some stuff that could be even better. What I was trying to say to David, and David tried to fight it, which is the idea that the Lakers make that move, in part because Rob Pelinka doesn't care what happens in 2030.
Yes. This is by the way, to bring it all the way back around to our frustration as to why Kevin Durant didn't get traded.
Right.
The Phoenix Suns have been the number one example in sports history of saying all we care about right now is the present.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, we will take a payday loan from Danny Ainge, take 3 first-rounders, whatever it is, right? Give us that. We'll give you everything such that 2031, basically we're behaving at the Phoenix Suns organization as if the apocalypse will come in 2030.
Mhm.
We'll all be wiped off the planet. It's the global warming theory, just it's happening in 5 years.
And like I said, there's 2 parts of it. One part of it is the I don't give a shit. We're not even going to be here anyway, right? But then there's another part of it, what Golden State is doing, what I think Phoenix in theory was doing, which is we've got a special talent. We owe it to them to give them every tool possible to go out and win right now. It's the same thing for the Lakers with LeBron. It's like it's hard to look at this guy who's an all-time great, who's still playing at a high level and say, yeah, we're just going to punt this year, and then we'll see how it goes next year. You can't say that to those guys at that age. So they're trying to say the window's open now. We can't just expect it to be open forever. Mike D'Antoni used to tell the story all the time that Dan Marino told him. He went to the Super Bowl, his second year in the league or whatever, and they lost, and he said, it's all right, we'll get them next year. And then never went back to the Super Bowl. You can't sit around thinking, oh, shit, we'll just get better, and eventually we'll get back, and it'll be all right. You don't know how long this window's open. So they've got to force their way through, but also what reinforces that behavior is the knowledge that, hey, if this doesn't work out, doesn't matter. Because I'm not going to be holding the bucket when that happens anyway. It's some other poor schmo who's got to inherit that situation.
I mean, you want to hear a scenario that's going to either make you laugh or drive people crazy? I hand it over to Jeremy.
So Phoenix is terrible, right?
There's more. I thought just handing it over.
Yeah, just me in general is not great for everyone listening. But the Phoenix is in a terrible spot now, right? Because they've shown Kevin Durant they were willing to move on from him. And their team is relatively mediocre, and Beal has been, as is obvious, an impossible guy to move, a contract to move. So what's to say that this offseason they don't decide now's the time to blow it up, that they look at Houston and they take Devin Booker and they say, hey, we'll take all of our picks back plus more.
Buddy, let me tell you something right now.
Wait.
I know we're on the week of Luka Doncic got traded, but Devin Booker.
No, let him get there.
Okay, go
well,
ahead.
all of this was to set up is the idea of, is Durant not an equally depressed asset come this summer, and why overpay now and know that type of guy could be available in the same
Is
respect.
Pat Riley eventually going to land Kevin Durant?
This is the 5th pursuit. No, I think that Phoenix is the most interesting team at the end of all of it. At the end of all of this, it's Phoenix that's most interesting because of the lack of movement, not the additions. They're the team that I'm looking at and going, look at those 2 guys who are now sitting right there.
They're holding
on
out.
that roster.
They're denying reality.
And they've been doing it for a year.
Yes.
For everyone who looked at the
everybody-
Heat and said the same thing, it was a team that was forced to look internally and decide to go with a younger core in Miami. But Phoenix is in one of the strangest positions of any franchise in the league.
The Suns are catastrophically run. Their owner, we've done this, of course, on Pablo Torre Finds Out. We did an episode about Matt Ishbia, about how he runs his organization. It is uncoincidental that he runs his organization like someone who is familiar with mortgages. He is the mortgage king of America.
Subprime.
I mean, look, the details are in the piece. It was lawyered and for reasons that are I think going to be obvious to you. But in terms of timelines, he has run that team like he is going to disappear in 2030. And this raises many questions. But one of the questions I have is it the case now, motivated by Jeremy's observation, that Kevin Durant actually was too good a soldier? He needed to be a worse soldier. The bad soldier theory of getting what you want. He needed more Jimmy Butler in him.
What did Kevin Durant want, though? He didn't want to go to Golden State, and that's why no deal was made, because he didn't want to go there. What does he actually want? I don't know, and I think he would probably hazard all of us from guessing what he wants, because you guys don't know who I am and how I think. I'm like, okay, dude, relax. But
he flexed the power to not get to Golden State and probably just didn't want to do any more than that. And Miami was sitting there, and those 2 teams couldn't come to a deal. So he says, all right, I'll chill out in Phoenix, which is where I wanted to be to begin with. That at least seems to be where Kevin Durant is at. It makes all of this that much more interesting that a player like that was available and now goes into a year where he's an expiring contract next year for anyone around the league to look at what's going on in Phoenix and go, is it worth moving something to go get that guy? And would Phoenix be willing to do it now another summer into a season that, unless they go on some sort of really ridiculous special run that no one anticipates, will be another disappointment?
I mean, I think you look at it and you got an expiring deal. As you said, he's in the last year of his deal next season. Beal has proven to be difficult to move. Booker's not going to get moved because he is the everything for that franchise. And despite them acquiring those picks a couple of weeks ago from Utah in order to give themselves some flexibility, they don't have a whole lot of flexibility in terms of what they can make happen that's savory, that upgrades that roster. And that second apron looms large above them. Durant might be their only way out in terms of getting out from under this and trying to run this the right way.
Are we just the second apron thing, right? Before we just fully feed yet more Miami propaganda. The second apron thing, Amin and David. I don't want to get into the weeds of explaining what that is because it's just, I guess the summary is it's an even more punitive tax on top of the tax teams used to pay. But what we're saying is that this rule has changed the economy of basketball transactions.
Yes, but not because of the financial impact. That's what the problem or the...
Explain. Please explain.
So once upon a time, the league said, we're spending too much. We need to curtail spending. How are we going to do it? If you spend beyond this number, which is way above the salary cap, we're going to institute a dollar-for-dollar luxury tax. Ooh, that'll stop guys from spending. But guess what? It didn't. People kept spending. So they said, in the next collective bargaining agreement, we got to do something crazier. I know what it is. It'll escalate. So after $10 million above, it'll go to $150 for every dollar. At $20 million, it'll go for $250, et cetera, et cetera. That didn't do it. Then they said, we'll have repeater taxes. So if you've been in the luxury tax habitually, your tax is actually even bigger of a jump from threshold to threshold. That didn't stop. And they realized, you know what's going to stop people from overspending? It's not money. It's not fines. It's taking away the ability to improve the roster. Hey, we're going to stop you from signing and trading. Hey, when you do a trade, it has to be 100% salary for salary match. Hey, you're a mid-level exception, way smaller than everybody else's. And that's what this is right now. This is the fully realized, if you do these things, you can spend however much you want. But if you do, you better hope you love your team, because if you don't, like the Phoenix Suns, changing becomes immediately very, very difficult.
So it's working.
Hi, David.
Yes. It's finally what they wanted.
This is what you tried in baseball. It was called the cone tax, and the irony is the cone tax is now the Dodgers tax. It's a level of threshold that is punitive, and now there's picks involved, draft picks, placements in the draft, and in a capped sport, it becomes even more critical to have these punitive things. And I would argue it's been working. You have an owner right here in Miami. Mickey Arison, for all the love that we give him as the best owner in South Florida, he focuses on the luxury tax tremendously year over year. I don't know
that
if
man's so scandalous.
Izzy just will not agree with anything I say today. That's fine.
That wasn't me singing.
Ooh, that man's so scandalous.
Are you going to deny that Mickey Arison is
How
luxury
is David not aware
Mickey
of how the
Arison.
show works?
I will not hear Mickey Arison hatred, because somehow he's been able to own a team and still be fiscally responsible while allowing Pat Riley to do his thing for 30 years, and they've been relevant for a long time. So maybe he's doing it right.
So what you're saying is that
We're
maybe.
off the air.
Okay.
Are we?
No,
we
we're still
weren't.
on the air. You can go a little bit longer.
Is there a penalty for that?
I have been trying, David.
I am trying to do the show. I'm leaving.
I don't
That's
know.
it.
Chris, play the
Press
sound.
Button. Press the button.
Ooh, that man's so scandalous.
One shot at whiskey, a go-go. There we go. Now we're drinking to unemployed technicians, but a job to do. Professionals with a drink or two. Just a thimble of gin, and then I'll be locked in. After gin, then we're gonna go to the Super Bowl. To the Super Bowl. much to see instead of the big game. And the traffic is bad on La Brea. So come and join me in popping tequila.
I'm just here to drink and find Lewis Hamilton. Hey guys, I have a brand.
You gonna shotgun a beer or what? I don't feel so good. I am genuinely fucked up right now. It's showtime, buddy! The Bengal speaks. And the ram responds. The Bengal tiger.
So Dan versus Dan was last night? Or Dan
I've
and
been
Dan?
seeing photos. The last Dans, I've been calling it. Whoever wins, we lose, I think, is what
That's
the
the
Alien
tagline?
vs. Predator movie poster used to say. Also applies here, potentially.
It went great. Why are you...
Did it?
Yes.
Did you watch it?
It was... I was getting reports the whole night.
Oh,
from people
From
on the
Dan?
ground.
Oh.
There are
No, how
lots.
could I get- he was on the
There are
stage.
photos of the crowds, the crowd size, guys, very big.
That's Dan and Dan.
There it is. Dan's melting into the chair with
The
that
only
brown
negative
jacket.
is that we had people in place, and I think that all of you will appreciate this more than I did. Dan showed up pretty much just to get on stage.
Dan
There
Patrick or Dan
Le
Lebatard?
Batard. There was no green room situation. There was no prep. There was no anything.
No mingle?
No nothing. Now, after the show, he did major meet and greets, major
Oh,
VIP
okay.
stuff.
All right, there
No,
you
no.
go.
But when you're on tour
Uh-huh.
for a show, he did a full, even Springsteen, Mick Jagger. You're getting there early. You're sort of getting set up. Dan went car, stage.
That photo is just hilarious. I can't tell where the chair ends and Dan starts.
It's just his head popping out of a chair.
I was just trying to think if that's the outfit he wore to do the show on Tuesday that he recycled again for Wednesday. But it actually went great. It was sold out. There were a ton of people who got to spend time with Dan after the show, which was
Dan.
great.
Our Dan loves taking photos with the people.
Well, the people love to be with him.
Not really. He doesn't love it. It's just a way to get out of whatever situation he's in. Come take a photo. Okay, now leave.
Yeah, he doesn't have to talk that way.
Oh, I think
He would rather have
actually loves being with people.
1,000 small talk conversations than one conversation.
He feels the gratification from the fans, and
no, it's legitimate. Like Moss every year, he does this.
Well, he's listen to the thing. Dan is genuinely appreciative of
Yes.
the love and support. But also, Dan is the anti-Amin. Amin will go and give someone 15 minutes of show if it behooves him, right? Dan is like, I don't want to do any show. That's why the photo is such a great opportunity. I gave you the most meaningful interaction possible that also costs me nothing.
Dan will do show with them, but it'll be South Beach sessions, and he'll be like, when have you cried last? Are you in a happy place when you listen? He really wants to get in there.
Do we know what they talked about?
I just know that.
I like how the one thing we need reporting on is our own companies.
Which we don't have clips on for some
We
reason.
I could tell you what Kevin Durant is thinking this whole time, but I can't tell you what happened.
You're allowed to talk about that?
David was mad that we hadn't said the word Super Bowl.
No, Pete Alonso is actually what he was mad about.
Well, I was upset about both because it's Thursday, and I was picturing Adam Silver doing the Snoopy dance because Roger Goodell is on the back burner. There's shows, and we're sort of looking. It's been 40 minutes or 84 minutes, and there are other shows just getting to Super Bowl now, having started with Jimmy and the Warriors.
I'm just going to read the Chiron on First Take. What will the Super Bowl come down to?
This is my favorite thing because I saw someone tweeted at us either yesterday or earlier this morning saying, please don't spend the show talking about Jimmy Butler and the Lakers trades and all that stuff. It's Super Bowl week. And I said, the operative part of the word news is new. What's new, Super Bowl? If you tell me right now something we didn't know about the Eagles or the Chiefs that we've learned in the last 24 to 40 hours, I'm pleased to have that conversation. If it's just
The
who's
Chiefs
going to
have
win.
no injuries.
That's new?
Yes. There's no one on the report.
Okay.
It's pretty amazing
So
to have
that's
no
what
one
it's-
on the
that's
report.
what it's coming down to.
That's big news.
All right. Okay, they're not hurt.
What I would like to
And we covered it.
what I would like to tell the NFL in this moment is you gotta earn it. Earn it.
Gotta wanna earn.
Out-compete.
Eugene Robinson, go out there, get arrested doing
League
something.
don't want to earn.
I'm just saying, I'm happy to not talk about the Heat, trust me, but the NFL, I'm so far, Dan looking like a couch is the #1 story coming out of New Orleans.
I mean, that's a pretty good story. Look at that. Look at that picture.
It's like that Always Sunny where, Danny
where
DeVito's
they
climbing out.
He's all greased up.
If he had gotten there earlier, we would have changed out the chair or his pants.
Can we do that?
Oh, you can do anything with time.
Or money.
Well, always.
I have a couple of questions. What decade do you have to be from to know what the Snoopy dance is?
Ooh, 20
also,
CD.
Pablo, why do you think that people think you're a food delivery person?
Do you not see how he dresses like a schlep?
Oh, that's why. That's how he
That's
dresses.
why. Okay.
Members only windbreaker. He's got
That's schleppy?
the onset of a potential paunch for someone of his young
I
age.
do have
His
early
hair's
What's a
always
paunch?
messed up.
What's a paunch?
I do have
use
early
these
onset
euphemisms.
paunch.
It's he's very
Punch was a
love
cop on this television show
Too
called
real.
Chips.
That's not true.
Oh, it's Eric Estrada.
Yeah. The
So
fa-
he's growing an Eric Estrada.
Yes. But it's all but it passes as Italian for some reason. We're doing a show for Greg Cody only, right?
And he always walks around with bags. So Pablo's like got stuff, and it's not organized. It's not like a briefcase. And you walk around
I'm
with
busy
food.
finding out stuff. Sorry.
Well, he walks around the city and he's sort of collecting food in bags. And then I picture him walking into a lobby and being stopped like you're heading into Tiffany with the trophy. Like people looking, you're like, what apartment's that for?
I picture you walking into Tiffany's and them thinking, where's the tall one from the Wet Bandits?
Daniel Stern.
Well, they're looking for Daniel Stern because,
Right.
yeah.
More
You
of a
just
Joe Pesci
referred
guy
to the
than
Home
Daniel
Alone
Yeah, I am.
robbers by their gang name.
The Wet Bandits.
Is that how Daniel Stern is known?
#1? Yes. Home Alone by far.
Yes.
More so than City Slickers?
Not bushwhacked.
Or Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the year for me, man.
I'm just
Yeah,
glad we got
I'm not-
Roy in here. Roy
right.
got lured out with
Hot
with-
ice.
Celtic
You
Pride.
heat up the ice cubes.
That's
It's
actually.
the best of both worlds.
You know what? It might be Rookie of the Year.
It's Home Alone.
I know
Are you?
it-
You
Hold
guys
on.
are.
It's a
high.
better role though.
It's-
that Rookie
Home
of the Year role
Alone.
is fantastic.
This is like what's Arnold Schwarzenegger known for, and you guys are like Jingle All the Way. No.
Good flick.
What?
But remember when he gets
Kindergarten
stuck
cop,
between
clearly.
the doors, knocking on the doors of the hotel room, and
Little
the
help
both
here.
doors closed?
Little help now.
Let him now.
Help me now. Little help now.
A
Over here.
paint can hit him in the face, and then he stepped on a nail with no shoe
Oh,
on.
wait, hold
died
on,
in
hold on. Amin got some Obama in his paint can, hit him in the face just then.
A paint can hit him in the face.
Now that's SNL
You
worthy.
just learned that I do a really good
No,
Obama.
but I hadn't heard it in person before.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get to Stephen A. Being a Democratic candidate for president as Barack Obama has learned the news?
Got a couple presidents in here too, if you need them.
Let me be clear. When I heard the news that Stephen A. Smith decided he should run for office, I said that's a great American. Now, some folks across the aisle don't like that. They want Skip Bayless to be the nominee. But I told my family, Sasha, Michelle, Malia, that
gets me every time.
Stephen A. Would make a fine candidate. Now, Stephen A. Wait, hold on. Here, Joe, wouldn't you agree with me?
Listen, man, he's a good guy. He's got it. He's got real pizzazz. I like him.
Now, Stephen A.
Is he from
It's
Scranton?
the hands every time,
Is
right?
he from Scranton?
It's the hands and the losing breath as soon as he starts talking.
What does old Donald Trump believe about Stephen A?
Who does a good Trump here? I don't. I've tried, and I
We
realize
don't.
I can't do a good
He
Trump.
talks sports, all right? He talks a little bit, and he doesn't do it well, okay? He talks way too much, if you ask me.
Okay.
It's not terrible either.
I mean,
it's the only option we got.
This is
not terrible.
this is
It's a
Hall
real
of Fame week.
binary equation you're giving approval to.
No, we didn't do the lips part. You got to do the lips. You have to have the fuller.
And the fingers. A lot
of fingers.
You know who does a really good Trump? Brad Williams. Brad Williams is a really good Trump because he does the hand movements really well. I heard a lot of people do good Trumps. Godfrey does a good Trump.
There's a lot of Trump.
Our buddy Josh Rosen obviously does a great Trump. He actually makes money. Has a Trump impersonator.
How much money does he make?
Enough to pay his bills. Yeah.
You know this. You've seen the W-2.
I've seen Josh Rosen, and I've seen him play
You
places.
think he gets a W-2 for that?
1099 probably.
Yeah, it's not. He's not. He's not getting benefits on this shit.
And Brad Williams and Donald Trump, same size hands.
It's true.
Nice.
Well done, Roy.
But guys, you guys aren't talking about the real president. We're talking about 2028, baby.
2% Stephen A. is polling in this.
What's
one.
the plus or minus? What's that called? What's the margin of I'm blanking. Someone please help me.
Margin of error.
Margin of error. What's the margin of error on that poll?
2.
Please tell me it's more than 2%.
It's unclear to me.
So
I'll
then it
give you
could
some
be
of the
negative?
details. It's a McLaughlin and Associates poll, and oh God, Kamala Harris is still leading the pack, 33%. Pete Buttigieg, 9%. Gavin Newsom, 7%. Stephen A. Smith, 2%.
I've often said that if the fires happened on my watch, they would have been put out immediately, because the fires don't want to make an enemy out of me.
Do we really see him as a Democrat? Because he said that he was an independent years ago.
We heard that from
not
You certainly can't come out as a Republican running for 28 at the moment, because the thought is that there's going to be a third term in there.
Right.
So
Is that now? Are we talking? Is that where we're at?
It's not where I'm at, but that's been
defying the Constitution. Yeah.
Classic.
Oh, please. We're not in the last 4 years.
Definitely didn't try to warn you guys.
Stephen A. Smith, I just want to tell you, picturing him at a debate, a presidential debate, thinking that he's doing one of his shows on ESPN.
David,
That's all it is now.
That's what State of the Union.
That's what Trump did at the debates.
Yeah.
Just like turned it into a.
That's all it is. That's a reality show.
You want to talk to me about taxes? Come on. Let me tell you something about taxes.
I'll trade him.
And then never actually say anything about taxes.
No, because all he's got to do is just name out the resume of taxes. Now, we've had taxes since Eisenhower. He had them at 90%. We dropped them, and they've been very, very beneficial. Roads, schools.
He'd be almost the richest president.
Almost the richest president?
Yeah.
Almost.
For real. I mean, he's about to sign and become the highest paid employee at ESPN. He'd have more
He's
money.
not already?
In theory, than even Trump himself.
Maybe I'll take his spot at ESPN.
Oh, my God. That's
First
Joe
signed
did
with CAA.
He did just sign with a major Hollywood talent agency.
Yes, he did. They did a whole announcement about it. The Speaker Series. Now, you can make a lot of money. Of
course.
There's a lot of 1099. Obama.
Yep.
Ooh, cashing in.
Bill?
On the
Bill was cleaning up on that circuit.
You make appearances when you've been president.
Some
you
people
can
write.
rock it.
Some people, I'm reliably informed, write books to go on the speaker circuit.
Of course.
Like that's the actual game.
Did
Have
not
you
write
met
that book.
Stugotz?
You mean he's gonna go on a liar circuit?
No, he's just going to cancel. He's going to make appearances and then cancel.
By the way, I got a report from New Orleans here. Everyone wants
Oh.
Super Bowl week talk.
Yeah. Let me straighten up in my chair.
Does anybody do a George W. or George H. Bush impression?
You work on that while I give you this update from New Orleans. Stu was looking for another Stu to do a competing Stu versus Stu show. He put out an ask for Stu Feiner.
Oh my God.
There it is, our New Orleans update.
Is that news?
It is.
Is that Super Bowl news because it's new?
Well, it's new and it came from New Orleans.
And who's the source of that?
I can't reveal my sources.
Can we talk a bit about the thing that we saw at the White House yesterday?
I didn't see anything at the White House.
I want to show you, actually. I want to show you a clip that caught my eye. If we can play something that Chris Cody is very cleverly, there it is, very good, and play.
And Tommy Tuberville, a great coach. You know, his quarterback was named Mahomes. He was a great college coach. And I said, how good was he? He said, you don't want to know how good. He made me into a great coach. He's pretty good quarterback, right? Yeah, he was very good. He's a good guy, too.
I just want to be very clear about this. This is not a political take. Donald Trump does not know ball. Donald Trump does not know sports. He is around sports. He has spent money on sports. He shakes hands with people who play sports. He has no idea what anything is.
Do you believe that someone writes that speech?
No, that's him. That's him winging it. They do write speeches for him. He wings it, though.
That is him looking at Senator Tommy Tuberville and saying, you're the guy who coached Patrick Mahomes famously. We all know that.
How come no one in the background noticed that it was wrong?
No one sets up a sound after we've listened to it better than Pablo.
Hold on. Let me just point something out. You said
and play.
Nobody corrected him. How about Tommy Tuberville didn't correct him? He said he's a pretty good quarterback. He said, very good. Tommy Tuberville went with it. Yeah, I coached him in 2012 when I was at
correct the
Texas
president in that
This
situation?
is why I bring it up. This is what's happening. Again, I'm not trying to do a political argument here. I am just saying this is happening in 1 million different ways across all sorts of stories that are not actually anything this dude cares about.
There are way more important things we could be talking about, but there's plenty of other presidents when they welcome teams to the White House. There's speeches that are prepared, and when they try to go off script, George Bush did that and made a mistake. You're not going to correct him on the.
What did he
You're
say?
not. He said something about a game that he said that he had watched of our World Series and he hadn't watched it.
You
And
didn't.
we're not
You
gonna-
didn't correct him?
What? Are you kidding me?
I would have.
You're with the president.
I would have sworn
in the White House.
I would have sworn that you would have just
interrupt.
Yes, yeah.
Interrupt the remarks while presenting.
It
the
was Brad
jersey.
Penny that started, not Al Leiter.
I could absolutely hear Samson's voice from the background. He's standing behind.
I respect the office. I wish people in the office respected the office, but I respect the office.
Would you have corrected him after he was done speaking?
I may have.
There you go. I appreciate the kind words, Mr. President, but right, you did that.
Now that's funny. I didn't call him Mr. President.
God,
Wait, how did you address him?
President Bush.
You said you
Should I have said Mr.
Mr. President? Yeah.
It's interesting. I did not do that. I did not do that.
But you did correct.
I wish you hadn't just done that.
We talked after. Well,
Yeah, you made all the Marlins employees call you Mr. President.
No, David. You'd
Yeah.
know that if you had worked for the Marlins.
Yep. You would also wear a tie.
Just David.
For at least a couple
Only
months.
until June. Only until the first sign that, oh my God, is it hot in this frickin' town?
What's that?
Oh.
I'm down on Trump and
Okay,
what he's
great.
doing with the transgender and all the executive
Can I-
orders. But I just want to point out that what he did with Tuberville.
Tuberville.
Tupper. He said Tupper.
Tupper?
You'll
Right,
get it.
like Tupperware.
Keep saying it. You'll find it.
I'm having a hard time enunciating it, except to say that I give him a pass on that.
I do not in the least.
I know, but I don't want him to know that. I'd prefer my presidents not to actually.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Spend time on that type of stuff.
Sure. In any other timeline, the idea that a president tried to make a sports reference and face planted would be otherwise not symptomatic of a larger trend.
Agreed.
A troubling trend insofar as the background of that video, which, to Chris's point, I did not do a great job of setting up. He's surrounded by girls, young women, for what the C-SPAN Chiron describes as the No Men and Women's Sports Executive Order. Speaking of telling people to play and to not. It's a ridiculous thing.
Wordplay.
It's a ridiculous thing. And I say that because, look, I'm at all times with what David referred to as the transgender. I'm trying to be somebody who you want to hear from, even if you think I'm going to be the guy who is in the tank for one side. I'm not in the tank for one side. I am just here to remind people that when you say this is a deeply unpopular issue, 80-20 a winner for the GOP, 80-20 a winner for the mutated Republican Party, which is true. Just please stop pretending like Democrats had been shoving this down people's throats. Nope. The idea that everybody on the left was so pro-transgender that finally Donald Trump is going to stand up to the big bully. It's just not what was happening.
But we're not saying pro or anti-transgender. What the executive order was about participation in sports.
Yes, and the good news is that there have been rules regulating participation in sports on the basis of hormones, testosterone, which is, look, an arguable debate. Sure, we've done episodes about it, but they've existed. There have been regulations the entire time. There are fewer than 10 college athletes who are trans at all, meaning that we're debating issuing executive orders, fear-mongering about less than 0.02% of the population, while also casting that population as the bully.
The most effective straw man of all time.
It's
right?
an 80-20, Izzy. 80-20, it's a winner. And I'm not disputing that. It is a winner for the Republican Party. What I'm saying is that this is something that I can't abide by because of a misrepresentation of the reality of it, right? I'm not saying that it's not unpopular. I'm saying that we here who have cared about this issue saying, actually, let's consider this population of people. Let's consider that if they were to go through with these regulations, these hormone therapies to decrease their competitive advantage conferred by male puberty, if they were to do all of that, that they deserve a right to play. What I'm saying is that people who have been saying that and believing that, like me, have not been platformed to the point where everybody is saying, let's celebrate the trans athlete. It's been a relatively lonely journey for those people in particular. And so for those fewer than 10 people who are just trying to participate in sports, them being cast as Goliath, as the bully, as the big bad wolf by the president surrounded by these women as props, it's insane to me.
So
it's just insane to me.
Is this a Title IX issue? Is this something that can be appealed in the courts?
Roy, there are so many legal pathways shooting out of this, Title IX being one of them. And I guess I even hesitate to go to that point because I want to make the argument even more basic. The boogeyman you have created is not an actual concern. And it's just the most overblown political issue of our time.
It was a platform issue that was used by Trump, and it gets people riled up, and he was able to take care of it. And then he was able to say that I'm doing what I said I would do, which, by the way, is a whole nother subject. All the things he's doing, he said he was going to do.
Yes,
including this is what he campaigned on, and 70 million people voted for him. And he's doing exactly what they want. And this executive order on transgender participation in sports was one of them. And he's going down the line. This was just a press conference. That was one of 10 that he had.
All he's been doing while Elon Musk has been doing the actual, work of being president has been holding press conferences and signing executive orders, which in reality are pieces of paper that just say, here's a take I have.
Yeah, that's my favorite part, is that this is his favorite part of the presidency, is feeling like he's doing something by signing pieces of paper that say...
I think you're underselling an executive order. Now, it is true that you cannot unilaterally implement certain things in some of the executive orders, but all presidents on both sides of the aisle use executive orders as
look,
swords.
There are consequences to them. I am just saying this is the theater of... This is first take. This is Stephen A. actually being very qualified for this part.
I can sign an executive order now.
What about me?
Yeah, but a majority of them either have to go through Congress or are wholly unconstitutional.
There's a reason why he's not going through Congress. One of them is because it takes actual work of governance. Another reason is which he does not have a huge majority in Congress. He has a very narrow, the thing that I am frustrated by is just the way in which we have lost any sense of proportion, right? The smallest population of helpless people who are contemplating suicide at a rate of 1 in 3 are the big bad wolf. That's who you should worry about, those people. Meanwhile, the victory that Trump won, again, it's crowd sizes, right? The whole premise of this is he won so overwhelmingly that this is what the people wanted. He's just doing what they wanted. Look at how much he won by. We are misrepresenting basic statistics all of the time. And it's infuriating to be purely just on a counting level. Like we're really just going to eat all these lies.
Yes, for 4 more years.
And more.
Maybe more after that. But
Wholly unconstitutional.
Now, but when you pack the Supreme Court, you have and you assign the way he has, then you feel a little more emboldened with that branch of government. When you've got the tiebreaker, which he has with J.D. Vance, in case there's a few Republicans who fall astray, which happened recently with one of the appointments, you feel emboldened as the president that you can use the 3 branches of government. What he does with these press conferences and the off-the-cuff sports references and various things, that's just appealing to the ignorant, and that's fine. All the presidents do that. What we should be far more worried about is the ramifications not of the executive order stopping participation of transgender athletes in sports. We should be far more worried about things that he's doing economically, things that are happening within
So let's talk about
Can we not be worried about both, though? Hold on a second. Because
I don't have the bandwidth.
You have to pick and choose?
But that's...
I have to.
That's the problem, though, right? Because if you are running a, for all intents and purposes, sort of fascist version of the American government, otherizing groups of people is what helps you. It's what helps you keep that pulpit. And by creating a boogeyman, the percentage of people in America who think that 25% of our population is full of trans folks because of the fear-mongering that's been done by this administration and its cronies are part of why you have people so dug in on that side of the aisle, is because they've created boogeymen out of nowhere. And by the way, if this population is as small as it is, which it is, we should still be supporting them.
So look, I think there's the reason why it's been really hard to talk about the trans debate in the context that David is trying to get us to is because it is a bit of a nuanced thing. We're talking about a tiny population of people, and therefore, if it's just going to be a tiny population of people, less than 10 college athletes, why are we prioritizing them and losing an 80-20 issue, as they say? And what I'm here to remind everybody is that the point of rights in this country is not that it's a popularity contest, it's what is right or wrong. And at the same time, David, I want to acknowledge when it comes to the terror alert scale of how worried we should be about anything, because it's a relatively small population, what's happening, say, to USAID is something that, yes, we should also make room for if we're going to power rank the actual levels of concern, while also noting briefly that USAID is also 0.2% of the budget. Right? So another population.
The impact it's having worldwide, the diplomatic impact it's having, the fact that no one's talking about this or no one's, whether we're a sports show or not, if you're not paying attention to what is happening with the USAID and the fact that it's disappearing, then you're not paying attention. So.
It's as you're saying. You got to pick and choose what you want to
But there's a through line here, Roy, right? Here we have in USAID and the trans population of athletes, 2 groups that are relatively very small.
I don't agree with your premise.
But budgetarily, USAID is 0.2%.
The impact of USAID is so much larger than the impact of banning transgender participation in athletics. It's not even. How can you mention them in the same sentence?
I'm mentioning them in the same sentence because what we're doing here is forcing nuance into a false binary. It's not either or. What we're saying is USAID, 0.2% of the budget, also massively impactful for every foreign relationship we have, for all of these people who got into it for the right reasons.
For everybody with AIDS, everybody with HIV
around the world.
everybody
who's affected by disease globally, it is a massive catastrophe. I am also saying that even though there are less than 0.02% fewer,
twice.
I think we'll agree to disagree, percent of college athletes who are trans, also worth considering. Right?
It was obvious back in whatever year that was, 2018, 2017, with the bathroom bill in North Carolina. It was sort of a test there. It's like, hey, my base, we can agree men should go to men's rooms and women should go to women's rooms, right? Ladies' rooms, right? And yeah, but then that one shockingly sort of failed for them. So then the new one was, boys should play boy sports, girls should play girl sports, let's protect our kids. And that one just hit like, you know what? And so it's just been obvious what's been happening. It just happens that they have currently succeeded.
Do you see a problem? I mean, I don't know that we should debate the concept of, I'd rather talk about the executive order and talk about the reason why he's doing that and how that is manifesting itself in issues that are far more impactful to way more people. So I just take umbrage with you saying that it's like USA 0.02%. Therefore, we have to consider it in the same.
But this is why it's in the same breath right now. It's because what Donald Trump and what this administration is doing all of the time is celebrating that they are defeating the bullies. The bullies in this case are trans athletes, and they're the workers trying to get people AIDS medication, who are actually a tiny percentage of the population he's trying to, David, it's a numeracy
What part of
thing.
budget is Gaza? I mean, are you going to start breaking down the defense budget and what we've done?
I'm walking you to a place of agreement. I'm walking you to a place of agreement, which is, oh God.
Oh, guys, the NBA trade deadline, it never stops. This according to Bobby Marks of ESPN and Tim Bontemps. The Washington Wizards are acquiring Reggie Jackson and a first-round pick from the Philadelphia 76ers in exchange for 4 second-round picks and Jared Butler. Mike Scotto of Hoops Hype also was reporting.
A natural segue from D.C. politics to D.C. basketball. Well done, Amin.
I mean, Reggie Jackson. That gives them a good bet. You know, the Wizards have won 3 games in a row. That's their season high in win streak.
You said they're the worst team.
Worst team
Losing to
ever,
them, they were my pick of the day. Last night was the Nets over the Wizards, coming off the win over the Rockets.
Yep.
Russell, 2 threes, back-to-back. Great game. You then get to play the Wizards, get some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
They're only given 1.5 under the DraftKings line as of yesterday morning.
They got
and
smoked.
they got smoked.
They got smoked.
The Wizards smoked them.
Yeah, and guess what that means?
What does it mean?
The Brooklyn Nets are the worst team in the NBA now.
Wait, you said the Wizards are the worst team.
No.
Whoever loses to the Wizards.
Oh, now they're
It's the opposite of a championship belt.
Whoever loses to the Wizards is the worst team.
Who are
in
the
NBA.
3 teams they've beaten?
Well,
is it the latest loss that becomes the worst
The
team?
latest loss,
So
always.
now the second to last loss, they're off the hook.
You're off the hook, exactly.
That's so awesome.
Because the Brooklyn Nets have taken the mantle as the worst team in the NBA. Look, for a little bit there, the Denver Nuggets were the worst team in the NBA. That was when they lost when Nikola Jokic had 56 points.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Nikola
tough
Jokic
belt.
has 56
Tough
points,
belt to
and they
hold.
still lost to the Wizards.
I don't agree that you can keep changing your mind every day who the worst team is.
It's very easy. If you lose to the Wizards, you are the worst team in the NBA. Absolutely. So Minnesota's like, whew, thank God, we're off the hook.
The Nets were a nightmare last night.
That was awful. But yeah, 4 second-round picks.
4 second rounders. The second rounder is a fun thing to me.
My favorite part of all of these deals, when they said they're sending a pick, they're sending 2 seconds for. I don't know if this is a thing that happens in any other sport, but in the NBA, it's so much fine print. So, for instance, the pick that they're sending Washington is the less favorable of Oklahoma City, Houston, if between 5 and 30, and the Clippers in 2026.
I never read those. I just ignore anything like that when they talk about pick swaps.
Yeah. That used to be my job, Izzy. I had to write on a whiteboard where all the picks were going.
How much does that pay?
Wait, why?
Not
Was your handwriting the best of anyone in your position?
No, because I was the one who knew.
Wait, couldn't you have told someone who had better handwriting?
No.
Does anybody
Our
notice?
front office wasn't that big, David. Like, we didn't have like a calligraphy guy.
I want to
28 grand a year.
I want to unite. I want to cross the streams
28.
here, right? So Elon Musk is sending all of these people, these programmers, in to get into the budgetary software. What does the budgetary software of a pro sports team look like?
Well,
so far it's Amin. So far, Amin
On a
is the
whiteboard?
budgetary software.
Yeah, of course. Everyone's got software for accounts payable and accounts receivable, and you've got spreadsheets and a lot of Excel. There's a lot of Excel. There's a lot of people
Access.
doing
Microsoft Access
doing
database
formulas so they can keep track of expenses, like of your show, and they can then calculate like how much a show is, and then you have revenue associated with it. It's a whole Megillah. So, and then it generates books. Plus, there's budgets. So every there's about 250 budget departments.
But is there a guy who's just yelling at some underlings, and the underlings are the people actually
12.
keeping track of everything?
I'd say 12 people are yelling and 15 people are being yelled at. It's about a 1-to-1.
What a massive front office you are.
Everybody gets an underling. The underling
so
to
you can't
overseer
be-
ratio at this college is
It's
fantastic.
funny you say that. You can't be an hourly employee and have direct reports. That's exempt versus non-exempt. We can talk about that at any
Does
other
anybody
time.
else? Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Does anybody else get excited when Amin's like New York accent slightly comes out? It's
the best.
Like when he says "ool," and I'm like, that guy's cooler than he's letting on. Because the New York accent, I think, is the coolest of all the accents.
I don't think I have an accent.
No, just it comes out just a little bit at a time.
Usually when I've been drinking.
There's nothing
You've been
cooler
drinking
than
this
your
morning?
Stephen A. Smith imitation. That to me is the
The
coolest
ultimate New
voice
York
you have.
accent.
The coolest voice is always going to be a 44. That's the coolest voice. You don't think that's a cool voice? Hey,
It is good.
But when you have a New York accent, you just get away with saying things that other people
Sasha Malia think.
that
Michelle
other
definitely thinks.
people can't get away with. All right, you say
Example.
with a New York accent, you're mad corny for that. You say that with a New York accent, you sound cool as hell. I can't do the New York accent. You sound cool as hell. You're mad. Say that the way I just said it, and you sound like an idiot. You're mad corny for that, Pablo.
It's funny because
Sir, I grew up in New York and I don't have that accent, so I felt that actually hypothetically and realistically.
Right? It's also weird that people just talk different.
I feel like the Southern accent is the coolest accent, right? Like
drawl.
Yeah, because it always. Or maybe I'm just always thinking of that Seinfeld episode where the Astros come up to New York and George is entertaining them, and then after they leave, he starts talking like them, calling them bastards and sons of bitches and stuff like that. And what's my man named? His boss at the Yankees walks by in the hallway and thinks George is blowing the deal by calling them bastards. You tell those bastards when I get down to Houston, I'm going to kick their ass or whatever. And instead, it's a language of kind of love.
But it's not cooler. Like, you can't be a hip hop artist with like a Southern accent, but like with a New York accent.
Oh, come on. The Southern accent is all it's at now.
To me, the
All
New
the
York
big artists are Southern.
The New York accent test to me is around water.
What's that? Water?
Is it water?
Water.
Water.
Not
It's
water.
really Long Island.
Yeah, that's
Long Island.
You went a little
Draw.
too far east.
Too far
on
east.
495.
It's true.
I don't think of the Long Island accent as a desirable accent. Right?
People do not want to have that.
They actually,
and it's very easy to tell. It's as easy as the Southern drawl is the accent off the LIE.
the Southern drawl has it's easy going. You can't rush me, right? Well, I'll tell you what, you get that going. It's like, oh, just get to the point. Like, no, I'll get to the point at my pace.
There was a study recently that I wanted to cite here.
About accents?
Yeah, it was about British accents and how we consider, of course, all of them, any British accent to be of a certain, stature, right?
The standard British accent and the posh British accent,
Well,
yes.
this is the
We're
article,
we're
the
not
study.
talking about Geordies and Manx and
They
stuff
sound
like that.
more important.
I would say that to the untrained American ear, any British accent
No way.
conveys a sophistication.
I would tell you right now, to the untrained American, they've never heard of a Geordie.
What is a Geordie? What is that?
Geordie is people from Newcastle. You could look this up. It's a show called Geordie Shore. It was their version of Jersey Shore. You cannot understand a word they're saying. There's no way that sounds sophisticated. Oh, well, that's what it sounds like.
That's a good one. You need to put that one in the Rolodex.
I'm looking at the differences, the socioeconomic connotations of different British accents, and Amin is right. This is a thing. This is a thing.
Geordies?
Yeah. Look, there was a study that tested how these things sound.
Right.
And I'm gonna get to it in a certain filibuster.
In the next episode,
Take your
Dan Le
time.
Batard.